So earlier in this show, a few of you were commenting about how Etsy has become kind of a dumpster fire of a platform. There's a lot of stuff on Etsy that's clearly not handmade, that breaks a lot of their terms of service, is not allowed to be sold on Etsy. Some illegal items like breaking trademark or copyright. There's theft going on with Etsy, with people, stealing listings or stealing whatever. I've actually personally inadvertently bought stolen content on Etsy, not realizing that that person was not the original creator, which sucked. But it does seem like Etsy is starting to take this seriously and trying to clean up the platform. So that is the other topic I wanted to cover tonight. That's kind of a big deal because it's starting to, I do think it's starting to scare away the buyers, because buyers are having a hard time sifting between the higher quality handmade items and the shops that are either kind of sketchy overseas sellers who are not selling handmade items. They're selling stuff they got from AliExpress or like Temu or whatever, and they're passing it off as a handmade item. And that's obviously going to be a problem because customers are going to be not happy if they paid a premium price for an item that doesn't end up being handmade. That's obviously not a good thing at all. So I want to talk about what Etsy says they're trying to do, and they've released some new information this week, and it does appear that they're going to be cracking down on a lot more shops. So again, that could have impacted a lot of people, but that will also have an impact on the customers and users of Etsy, in that you may start to have a better experience. We'll have to see. So let's get into that, because I do think that's pretty interesting. So Etsy released this update, and that got on my seller dashboard, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it's by Alice W. Etsy staff, and it's titled Etsy's 2023 Trust and Safety Highlights and Our Plans for 2024. Hi everyone, I'm Alice Wu, and I lead Etsy's Trust and Safety team. Today I'm excited to share some insight into the progress we made in 2023 to keep Etsy safe and special, and to look ahead at how we plan to build on and expand this work. We just published our 2023 Transparency Report, which gives a detailed overview of our policy enforcement efforts. I'm proud to say that improvements we've made to both our human and automated detection systems are helping to more accurately identify items that don't belong on Etsy, so we can remove them more quickly. In 2023, we removed 2 times as many listings for any policy violations and 4 times as many listings for violating our handmade policy compared to the prior year. More details below. In the report, we also share a look at our plans to build on this momentum. This year, we're focused on elevating the best of Etsy, the quality items and shops that embody our mission to keep commerce human. We're more committed than ever to suppressing and removing listings that violate our policies so that your unique items can shine. In addition to continuing to expand enforcement, here are a few of our key focus areas for 2024. Protecting you from spam and scams. Human connection is what makes Etsy so special, and we want to make sure that connecting and communicating with buyers is a safe and productive experience. We're already in the process of significantly increasing our efforts to minimize spam and scam attempts at Etsy, including via messages. We're also providing more education and resources to help you protect your shops on and off Etsy. Enhancing seller verification. We've enhanced and expanded our seller verification process for new and existing sellers, including strengthening new shop onboarding to protect our community, evolving marketplace policies. We're constantly evaluating our policies to protect our community from harm, to ensure they're aligned with industry standards, and to increase clarity around what you can and cannot sell on Etsy. This year, we plan to review and update our marketplace policies in adult content, hate, violence, and off-platform transactions. Further expansion of non-handmade enforcement. That's the big one there. Removing and reducing the visibility of items that don't belong on Etsy continues to be a top priority, and we know it's important to you too. In 2024, we plan to further expand enforcement of our handmade policy, including categorizing the policy so it's more clear what can and can't be sold on Etsy. We also know it's frustrating for both buyers and sellers when they see listings on Etsy that may not follow our handmade policy, so we're holding ourselves accountable by tracking and reducing how often a buyer comes across those items. All of these efforts help ensure that you can feel safe and secure on Etsy so you can focus on what matters most, managing your shop, connecting with buyers, and growing your business. All right, so we're going to take a look at the full report, but here are some of the highlights. We made our automated detection systems.
Ready to
Whoops.
pay $349 per month to use Instagram.
Sorry, guys.
Etsy appears to be cracking down.
I don't know why. Okay. I don't know what happened with my phone, but it's like playing the live stream. All right. We made our automated detection systems more precise, meaning we can more accurately identify problem listings on Etsy. Because of this improvement, as well as other enhancements, we've removed more than double the total of listings that violated our policies compared to the year prior. We focused on enforcing our handmade policy to ensure Etsy is a place where your special, one-of-a-kind, and handcrafted items can shine. As a result of our investments in improving our technology and expanding our detection capabilities, we removed more than 4 times as many listings and suspended 2 times more sellers for violating our handmade policy than the previous year. In addition to removing listings, we're getting better at keeping items that violate our handmade policy from being seen or listed in the first place. We've reduced the number of policy violating listings that shoppers see by 60%, have more clearly highlighted our policies during the listing process, and are ensuring badges like Star Seller and Etsy's Picks are reserved for items that comply with our policies. We've reduced the time it takes for cases to be resolved to an average of just 2 hours, a significant improvement from the year before. This means buyers and sellers are getting the help they need even faster so you can get back to business. I look forward to sharing more updates soon on our progress in these areas and continuing to work with you to keep Etsy a safe and trusted marketplace. So I do think it's pretty obvious that Etsy realizes, and from what I understand from the earnings call, the investors were very concerned about just how much of a cluster the platform is. Etsy is just crawling with stuff that does not belong there. I've seen counterfeit handbags. I've seen stuff that's very obviously from resellers or just mass-produced garbage. I've seen a lot of listings that violate the intellectual property laws, which again, that's a little bit tougher for Etsy because they can't really do anything about it themselves. They have to have the license holder actually request them to be taken down or removed, so that's a little bit tougher. Plus, you have to keep in mind that there's just tons and tons of new shops and new listings popping up. And I do want to be fair that just with the sheer number of listings and shops, it is tough to enforce this consistently and swiftly. So I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. This is their transparency report. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit here so it's a little easier to read. So let's take a look at it. Actually, I'll make it a little bit bigger. So I actually do think this is promising. And the thing is to remember too is that as Etsy takes down a lot of these bad shops and bad listings, there's more popping up. So it's almost like they're playing a game of whack-a-mole with trying to just get rid of all the garbage, but there's more garbage that keeps popping up. So I do want to give them, some leeway in that. Okay, so here is the report. Okay, so they have 90 million active buyers. And I feel like they have more sellers than that now. I thought I read 9 million sellers. Let me see, how many Etsy sellers are there? Okay. Yeah, so I think that number is a little outdated because in 2022, Etsy had 7.47 million sellers. And in 2023, Etsy had 8.3 active million sellers. So I feel like that number is a little outdated. 100 million items for sale. So they've got over 100 million listings. That's a lot to keep track of. So they are trying to improve the AI because it would take a lot of humans to review all of that stuff. So the AI is there's going to be more AI sweeps that may cause some false positives, but it's also going to snag more violations. So, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Okay, so it says, we invested more than $50 million in the team's people, technology, and operations. That's a lot of money there. All right, so it says, we improved the accuracy and precision of our controls by 5x, removed 4 times as many listings for violating our handmade policy, removed 216% more listings for potential IP or counterfeit violations, reduced the time that cases are resolved. So yeah, Etsy is going to be, it looks like they're going to be cracking down a lot on problematic shops and listings, which is a good thing because there is a lot of garbage on Etsy. 94% of flags generated by our internal automated systems. These are some interesting numbers. Oh, and by the way, all of these resources are linked down below in the description box if you want to take a closer look at any of the things we're reviewing tonight. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, yeah, in some cases, with sellers who repeatedly violate our policies, will permanently refuse service. And that's the thing. If someone keeps breaking the rules over and over, they shouldn't be allowed on Etsy. Like, they just shouldn't. 47% of sellers based in North America, 30% of sellers based in Europe. Okay, so here is the policy enforcement. So out of all of the listings flagged, 94% is by the AI and 6% has been like reported by users when you can report a listing. All right, here we go. Accounts actioned for policy violations by region. Okay, so out of all of the accounts that had action taken against them, 47% North America, 30% Europe, 19% rest of the world, and 5% Asia. All right. Here's the community reporting here. And they really should be cracking down on this stuff because Etsy is really getting away from the core mission that's like handmade items, and now it's like whatever. And that's certainly a problem, and that's going to hurt the company because buyers are not going to want to shop on Etsy if they are going to be duped into buying something they thought was handmade and isn't, you know? All right, so we reduced the not handmade violative view rate to this low single digits, 60% improvement from April. Adding more human reviews, improving the precision. So it looks like they keep tweaking with the AI, which is good. Improving integrity. All right, I guess they don't want those listings to get there at all. Okay. I think this is interesting. I mean, all right, here we go. Yeah, the intellectual property enforcement is pretty big because I still see tons of stuff that, and the other thing I do want to point out is that when I see a lot of people who are violating intellectual property laws, a lot of them they're not like well educated enough to know they are. They think what they're doing is okay. They're like, oh, this is fan art, or, you know, this is okay. I'm fair use. It's fair use. So I do think a lot of the sellers on Etsy haven't really done enough homework or research into starting the Etsy shop where they genuinely don't know that they're breaking the law. And I've seen this a lot. Like, they're like, you know, if like they have these misconceptions that are just not, they're just not true. And they think what they're doing, they don't realize they're doing something wrong. So a lot of people, and Etsy does have this new $15 fee to open a shop to pay for the verification, like the background stuff. But I do think that as like a little bit of a filter will weed out people who really shouldn't be on Etsy, like the scammers or like the very non-serious people that, you know, and I'm sorry, if you don't have $15 to open an Etsy shop, like, I feel like that's a fairly low amount of money. Again, $15, if you're going to open up your own business and you're not willing to invest $15, should you be opening an Etsy shop? Because again, all of this stuff costs money. It costs money to verify you are who you are. And they're trying to do this for security reasons and to clean up the platform. So, you know, I think that's fair. I don't really have a problem with that. And I think Etsy does have a long way to go to try to really make the platform a quality platform. All right, let's take a look at more stuff. Okay, here's the reporting stuff. Reporting parties formally withdrew their reports of alleged infringement for 2%. Okay, we rejected 26% of reports in 2023. An increase. Okay, so they're trying to prevent fraudulent and abusive takedown notices. So people who are reporting items or listings or shops in bad faith. So that's good. Etsy may reject a report of infringement if we're unable to verify that the person submitting the report is authorized to act on behalf of the intellectual property owner. Which, yeah, there can be some fake, fraudulent reports. When the description of the intellectual property is insufficient or when the report otherwise fails to comply with Etsy requirements. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. In 2023, sellers filed counter notices for 9% of copyright infringement reports. Okay. So here's the intellectual property takedowns. Okay, so 61% were for copyright, 37% for trademark, 1% for patent, and 2% for other. I wonder what the other is. I don't know. All right, here's by region. I'm surprised Asia isn't more of the pie, just with all of the overseas shops I'm seeing on there. I'm actually kind of surprised it's not more. All right, they're focusing on product safety. But yeah, I think this report's pretty interesting. Resolving order issues. So here's one thing I have with, I do hope Etsy deals more with the problem buyers. It seems right now like Etsy is very biased towards the buyers when they open a case to try to return stuff or try to get a refund. And I do think Etsy should do more due diligence and try to make the policies a bit more friendly to sellers because it's very possible right now for buyers to scam the sellers. It can go either way. Yeah, I do think that, I think Etsy should actually ban problem buyers. If you have a history of doing this kind of thing or trying to get refunds for no reason or trying to scam sellers, I think you should be booted from the platform. I also think that Etsy should, again, I know this costs more money and requires more resources, but I don't think customers generally should be able to just return an item for whatever reason, especially when the shop has a no return policy. I know that's a bit difficult because I believe in the EU, sellers have to allow customers to return things. And that's one of the reasons why I don't sell outside of the United States. I'm being honest, is because I don't want to deal with that. And I also just can't take the risk of all of these potential shipping issues from shipping internationally. So that's why I only sell within the United States. All right, requests for member information or action. So I think this is promising overall. And I do hope Etsy improves. Message safety warning. Okay, looking ahead. All right, so looking ahead. So it says Etsy's marketplace continues to expand globally, and we're operating in an increasingly complex, adversarial, and regulated environment. We'll continue to invest heavily in the people, systems, and technology to keep our marketplace safe and special in our mission to keep commerce human. This year, we'll continue to amplify Etsy's efforts to uplift quality listings and provide quality user experiences. We'll focus on suppressing and removing problematic and policy-violating content to ensure the best of what Etsy sellers have to offer can shine. In addition to expanding on the 2023 efforts outlined in this report, our key focus areas in 2024 include enhancing seller verification. We are enhancing and expanding our seller verification process for new and existing sellers because we recognize that knowing who our sellers are is foundational to promoting trust and supporting positive buying and selling experiences. Evolving marketplace policies. We kind of talked about that. Also, the AI products and content is going to be a big thing right now. So that's going to be I think the AI stuff is going to be a big topic this year, is AI generated art, AI generated listing photos and images, AI generated products. we're kind of reaching like kind of a new frontier with that. Strengthening policy enforcement, reducing the not handmade violative. I've never heard the VVR, the violative view rate. That's interesting. Protecting our users from spam and scam. All right. Also, you can contact press@etsy.com. So what do you guys think about that report and the update from Etsy that they are trying to clean up the platform, remove all the bad eggs, and, you know, just make the platform better for everyone? I think that's good. I think Etsy has blown it. If people with money who appreciate handmade crafts can't trust who they are buying from, then the sellers have lost their market. Yeah, and that's, a lot of sellers are really pissed about Etsy letting all of this crap fly. It's a problem. It's a huge problem for sure. I hope Etsy will follow through with this. I have lost faith in the platform. And you're not alone. Like, a lot of people, a lot of buyers are like, I can't shop on Etsy because I'm just being shown all this crap. And even if I buy things and I think they're handmade, I end up getting something with like a made in China sticker on it. And that's clearly not handmade. So they do need to really work on that. So I do hear that they, like, if you're in certain countries, you actually cannot open an Etsy shop. Like, certain countries are prohibited. And other countries do have their own equivalent of like a driver's license or like a tax ID. So it does seem like they do, like, yeah, from what I hear on the Etsy forums, it's actually pretty difficult to reopen a shop after you've been permabanned, because you have to match up all of this other information. And again, it's kind of hard for you to get like a new social, or like even if you're trying to use someone else's, like that would take a lot. Like, even if I've even heard if someone is using the same IP address. So like, even if I tried to use different information, but I was at the same IP address, like Etsy would catch that. So they do have some fairly sophisticated tools to detect people who are trying to evade a permaban. So I've heard a lot of like interesting things. You're actually not allowed to I don't think you're allowed to like if you're you can't like reassign the shop to someone else. Like, so you actually can't, you may be able to do it if it's like an LLC or like a business, but I think if you're an individual, you also can't sell the shop to someone else. So that's an interesting thing too. I agree. The $15 fee is a good thing. Yeah, like if that's going to weed out a good number of the bad actors and the scammers, I'm fine with it. And I'm also seeing a lot of younger people and kids opening shops that, I'm not trying to be mean, but they don't really have any sense of running a business. So they're not withholding their own taxes. They don't know they're supposed to pay taxes. They're creating lots of items that violate Etsy policies. Like, I find a lot of the shop, like, I cannot tell you how many times I'm in an Etsy forum and someone posts something like, I got banned, or my listing was taken down for intellectual property violations, but I didn't break the rules. And then when you ask them more questions or they send you the shop, they were clearly breaking the rules. So from what I'm seeing, just from being in various online communities, a lot of people who don't think they're breaking Etsy rules or breaking the law, they just don't know they are. And then they're like, oh, I had no idea. So that's the thing, when you hear a lot of these stories of people saying that Etsy shut me down for no reason, or Etsy took my listings down for no reason, I've just noticed that in a lot of those instances, the person was breaking the rules or they were breaking the law, and they just didn't really understand they were. So I'm just seeing that a lot, where they're like, I'm selling Disney stuff, but it's cool because, or it's fine because it's fan art, or this is, the other thing you have to know is that if you're selling anything for babies or children, there are so many consumer product there's like the Consumer Product Safety Commission or something. There are so many regulations with selling anything for children or babies that I see a lot of listings that look kind of questionable because clearly they didn't get like the these products have not been tested or, really gone through any vetting process with that stuff. So there are a lot of listings and a lot of shops that shouldn't be on there that are. So, I think if the $15 can weed out, and again, I know like kids and young people get excited about opening a business or doing their own thing. But it's important that it is very important that they actually do some research into what running a business entails, because it might feel like it's like whatever, but this is serious stuff, guys. Like the IRS can come after you here in the United States. Like you got to pay your taxes. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm just seeing a lot of people who are on Etsy, but these are not serious people, and they have not put in any effort into running a real business. And I do think that hurts the platform. I do think that absolutely hurts the platform. With all of these kids selling Pokemon stuff and Dragon Ball Z and, trying to think of that, like Minecraft or whatever, and they really don't understand anything about business or anything about intellectual property laws, and they don't realize that like if a company sues you, you may kind of treat your business like you're a kid, but they're going to treat you like an adult. So, I know I've talked about this before. I do have a few videos about starting an Etsy shop. All I have to do, and I've talked to a CPA before on the main Sonderpart channel. I talked to a bookkeeper about the business side. But guys, this is serious stuff. Even though it kind of feels like it's not real, it's real. And if you break the law or if you break Etsy's rules, there's going to be consequences no matter what your age is. So that's something I'm seeing a lot that concerns me, is just the number of people who kind of treat Etsy like whatever. And then they get the surprise Pikachu face when they get a cease and desist letter from an attorney, or when Etsy bans them for life. And, I don't want that to happen to anybody, and that's why I've been talking about this, is because no matter what your age is or how young you are or how inexperienced, you do have an obligation. This is your responsibility to research before you open an Etsy shop. And I think the $15 Etsy shop starting fee is a good thing, because I'll be real, a lot of the people I'm seeing in these Etsy forums, they should not have an Etsy shop. Like, they just shouldn't be on Etsy, and they're ruining the platform for the rest of us. So again, that's just sort of my rant, but there's still a lot of problems with Etsy, but I do think that it does seem like they're starting to take this seriously and try to turn this around, which I realize is pretty difficult. Because let's take a look at this. This is the Etsy, let's take a look at the Etsy stock price. So, all right, let me get rid of this. So this is Etsy stock. Notice, again, same thing with like the Joann stock. Huge spike during the pandemic. And look it's been like kind of on a gradual decline ever since. So currently, Etsy stock is at $61.92. But at the peak, it was more like... At the peak, wow, it was like almost $300 in 2021. So, yeah, it's the thing. Like, Etsy... Yeah, Etsy is definitely... Yeah, they're kind of on the decline. And I think the shareholders are kind of pissed, at what the platform has become. So, yeah, $61... And look, it was like $63 5 years ago. So it's been 5 years and the stock price is at the same level. So if they don't get it together, like the platform could spiral kind of out of control. I don't know what's going to happen. I do hope they get better. And I do think, yeah, again, if you're thinking about opening an Etsy shop or you're on Etsy and you really didn't do your homework, I'm encouraging you and I'm telling you, do your homework. Look into everything you need to do to operate your business legally, to operate your business well. You need to keep track of all of your expenses, do proper bookkeeping, and you need to make sure that what you're selling is legal and allowed on Etsy. A lot of you guys are not doing that, and that is a big problem, is you're selling stuff that shouldn't be on Etsy. So I'm gonna yell about this all day because it is an important issue. I'm an Etsy seller myself, and it genuinely frustrates me to see so many people not following the rules, not following the law, and also not running a business like a business. So